Good evening, friends. Let us start today's class. We would be dealing with the booklet 3. Now, this, like previous booklet, is also dealing with various critically endangered species of birds and some reptiles. And that's why it would be mostly factual. But it's important that you listen to these things very carefully because this is something that will help you easily recall these things in the class, in the examination hall. And you would see that from almost all these topics which we would be discussing questions have been asked. Even in last 5 6 years, a lot of questions from these topics have been there. So I'll keep giving you examples where the questions have already been asked, so that you will continue to have more motivation to cover these sections. Now, the first topic that we want to cover is the state of India's bird 2020. Now, see, generally, we every year we study a very important report, State of Forest Report, which talks about the situation of India's forest and everything. Every year, there would be one question directly or indirectly from that. Last year in 2020, for the first time, we also had a State of India's bird report. This was for the first time we have come up with a report like this. Now, this report is not exactly by government alone. You would see it was this was a product of collaboration between a number of institutions, a number of individuals. First, for collection of data, they collaborated. There was a collaboration among thousands of citizen birders or thousands of people who do bird watching, who are interested in this area. They were helping government to collect data along with so a number of researchers. But this report as such was produced by partnership of these 10 different institutions. 1 2 3 4 5, these 10 institutions are 3 BNHS, FES, नेचर कंजर्वेशन फाउंडेशन. यहाँ पे इन सबके फुल फॉर्म में नाम भी दिए हुए हैं: नेशनल बायोडाइवर्सिटी अथॉरिटी ऑफ इंडिया, नेशनल सेंटर फॉर बायोलॉजिकल साइंस, सलीम अली सेंटर फॉर ऑर्निथोलॉजी, वेटलैंड इंटरनेशनल, WII, WWF. We do not have to remember this. It just for you to understand that this report was not specifically produced by a government agency, but a number of agencies had come together which have worked towards producing this report. Now, this is the first report which comprehensively covers all the birds that we have in India. Before this, we had various small reports which were covering birds in Northeast or something like that. But this is the first report which is doing an assessment of everything related to bird. So in India, roughly remember that there are more than 1,300 birds. IUCN also says this. This report is also saying this. There are more than 1,300 bird species in India, but this report is only talking about 867 of those species, because it was able to collect data only for those. Even among these 867 species, for few birds, it has given both long-term and short-term analysis, and for few birds, it only has short-term analysis data, which is available from short-term period. So you would see that out of these 867 birds whose analysis is available, for 261, they have even the long-term analysis. What has happened to them over the last 25 years, even that is available. For rest of it, the short-term analysis there. So based on the data they have, that they have collected, and based on the IUCN Red List of Global Threat Status, they have divided species in India in under low threat, moderate threat, or high threat. और यहाँ पे थ्रेट को एक कंजर्वेशन कंसर्न बोल रहे हैं. So they have divided birds in this manner. For example, if you would see this list of the 861, 862 birds in total that they're talking about, 101 birds are under the high conservation concern category. You would see that all the critically endangered birds which they are covering are in the high conservation concern category. But please note that even the least concerned birds, birds which are least concerned, may be in the high conservation concerns section. Okay, so first is this thing. It has divided birds under high, moderate, and low conservation concern. Then it says that endemics of all the 862 birds, 101 birds are under high conservation concern. It says that endemics are especially facing a lot of problems. They are suffering decline. For example, rufous fronted prinia, Nilgiri thrush, Nilgiri pipit, Indian vulture. These are some endemic birds in India, and almost all of them are facing issues. All the endemics except 13 had a restricted or highly restricted range indicating greater vulnerability to man-made threats. So the birds which are only found in India, of them only 13 had good condition in terms of the overall range availability. Otherwise, everyone had restricted or highly restricted range. Then it also says, see, here it's broadly speaking about birds. We'll look at each of the birds in more details. But here it also says that 52% of the 261 birds, which 261 birds for which we have long data available, long-term data available. Remember, out of the 860 something birds, for 260 or so, we have long-term data available. They say that of the 261 birds, 52% their population is declining since 2000. More than 50% of the birds have their population declining. Only 5% birds are there whose population has actually increased. 43 have remained stable. Because this data is being given in comparison to 2000, so this data can only be given for those birds for which we have long-term data available. So it's only talking about 261 bird species. Of that, it is saying that around 40% have the same population, but 52% is seeing a decline, and only 5% birds are seeing a rise. So roughly they are saying that for every bird species which is seeing a rise, there are 11 species which are seeing a decline. 5 or 52 or 55, ऐसे understand it like this. 5% and 55%. 1, 11. So if one bird is there whose population has increased, there are 11 birds whose population has gone down. And why is this happening? This is happening because of loss of habitat. This is the most important factor anywhere. Like in this whole section, whenever we were talking about any species, loss of habitat is something that we have been specifically discussing. Then widespread presence of toxins, including pesticides, have become a concern. And then hunting, trapping, and all those things usually goes on. So this was for about 261 birds. Then it's talking about raptors. What are raptors? Raptors are those birds like eagles, vultures, they together are called raptors. So they're saying that open country species which are open country, which roam around in villages, consume on the dead body or kill animals and consume on that, they are suffering the most. Even Western Ghats, which we consider a very important biodiversity place for us, you would remember that Western Ghat is among one of the biodiversity hotspots. That is, it is losing a lot of. Hotspot का मतलब क्या था कि 1, it is biodiversity rich, 2, it is losing a lot of biodiversity. So even in Western Ghats, situation isn't good. 12 endemic species, their abundance index has dropped by 75%. There are 12 birds in India which are endemic to Western Ghats. Their abundance index is a measurement mechanism by which they measure how many birds are there. Their abundance index has declined by 75%. They also say that grasslands are crucial for birds. They say that shoal forest grasslands, they're found in Western Ghats. They are crucial for the fortunes of Nilgiri pipit, Nilgiri thrush, Sholakilies. These are different birds. Similarly, they say that even the Tarai grasslands, which are found in Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Northeast India, these are crucial for migrant species such as Hodgson's bushchat. So these are some, this is a bird which is migrant. For its survival, the grasslands are suitable. Then about water birds also, there are some feedbacks. So among water birds, the migratory shore birds like gulls, terns, etc., they have declined the most. So the birds which are migrating, they have seen the greatest decline. If we look at birds on the basis of their dietary habits, then the ones which are omnivorous, fruit and seed eaters, have been seen a stabilization in population in recent years. But meat eaters have fallen by half. Birds that depend on insects have also suffered over a long run. The omnivorous birds, which will eat fruits also, which will eat seeds also, which will eat insects also, they are the ones who have survived, who have done well. Now, there are some interesting things. A common sparrow or house sparrow, we hear a lot of things about it, that its number has declined over the years. From our childhood times to the present times, we have seen decline in number. But this report says no, their population is stable. Yes, in urban areas, the numbers have gone down. Why in urban areas the numbers have gone down? Because the insect population, because the vegetation is decreasing in urban areas, the insect population which it consumes is decreasing, nesting space which it requires is decreasing. So in urban areas, the numbers of house sparrow, visibility of house sparrow has reduced. But overall in the country, the number is not down. Further, it also says that there's no conclusive evidence that radiation from mobile phone towers may be playing a role in their decline. First, decline is not happening. And then in urban areas, when the decline is there, it doesn't mean that. एक सेकंड दीजिए मुझे. It doesn't mean that in urban areas its population has declined, but it doesn't mean that it is because of the radiation from mobile towers. Radiation from mobile towers is negatively impacting these sparrows. There is no proof to show that. Okay, so about these sparrows, house sparrows, it's saying something positive. Then about Indian peafowl. See, you all must be knowing the term peacock. Like peacock, generally we use the term peacock, but peacock is used for male peafowl, and peahen is used for female. Peafowl is the general term which can be used for both peacock and peahen. The population of peafowl, that is both male and female, is rising in numbers. Their range has expanded. The places, the area in which they were found, that has expanded. Earlier, they were found in limited areas, but now with the extension of canals and irrigation, we are seeing that even in Rajasthan, the peacock population is found in bigger and bigger region. One reason for it is that it was declared a national bird in 1963, and when Wildlife Protection Act came, it was given highest protection. So for both these factors, because of both these factors, their numbers are going up. Similarly, it says that Great Indian Bustards. Great Indian Bustard is one of the critically endangered bird that we will study. Its population is also improving slightly. Most of the other documents would say that its population is going down, but here they would say that the population is slightly going up. So these are some basic things that you must know about this report. कौन report publish करता है, some other stuff, other issues associated with this report, you must be knowing, you should have an idea about. Okay, now let's talk about, so this other thing, here also we are talking something similar. What is IUCN saying about bird situation in India? So according to IUCN, there are 1317 bird species in India. So we do not have to remember this exact number. Even as per the previous report, roughly 1300 bird species is something that we have. That is something you should know. Then 10 plus critically endangered hai, around 20 endangered hai, and around 60 vulnerable hai. If you want to know it. If you don't want to know, don't know it. It's okay. Okay, now some bird festivals which were in news recently. There were two bird festivals which were in news, both from Bihar. One is Kalarav. It is the first state level bird festival at Nagi Nakti Bird Sanctuary in Bihar, which was held in January 2021. State level bird festival. So Department of Forest of the Bihar state government will be had conducted this bird festival where at Nagi Nakti Bird Sanctuary. Where is Nagi Nakti Bird Sanctuary? It is in the Jamui district of Bihar. Itna janna hai. So Kalarav, what is it? It's a bird festival. Which bird festival? It's a bird festival of the state of Bihar, which was it was the first birds festival of the Pan Bihar thing. It was held at Nagi Nakti Bird Sanctuary in Jammu district. So they may ask you a question: Nagi Nakti Bird Sanctuary is located where? You should be able to answer that too. But before this, in December, they had also held a migratory bird festival. Now, this migratory bird festival was held in collaboration between Bhagalpur Forest Division. Bhagalpur was the district where it was held. BNHS, Bombay Natural Bombay Natural History Society, and Bhagalpur-based Mandar Nature Club. Mandar Nature Club, it's a group where people come together to protect environment. Why was Bhagalpur chosen for this first migratory bird festival? Because it's here we have Vikramshila Dolphin Sanctuary. It's a 60-kilometer long stretch of Ganga River between Sultanganj and Kahalgaon, and it sees large number of migratory birds every winter. So migratory bird festival should in Bihar, if it's held, it should be held in this place where a lot of migratory birds are seen. And that's why festival being held in December. They come in winters. Most of the migratory birds that we have in India come in winters. There are a few birds which come in summers also. For example, koel or cuckoo. Cuckoo comes to India in summer. It's considered an harbinger of monsoon. But otherwise, most of them come in winter. They have their original habitat in Russia or northern China or Mongolia. It becomes very cold during winters. So they migrate to places like India, which are not that cold. Even in winters, it's not that cold, as would be the situation of Russia. Go to northern Russia, temperature would be minus 30 degree, minus 20 degree, minus 40 degrees. So these birds would not be able to. So most of the birds, migratory birds which come to India, come in winter. Okay, the two festivals from Bihar, one in Jammu district at Nagi Nakti Bird Sanctuary. It was a statewide festival, general bird festival, but there was a migratory bird festival which was held at Vikramshila Dolphin Sanctuary in Bhagalpur district. विक्रमशिला डॉल्फिन सेंचुरी में क्यों, वो समझना है. दिसंबर में हुआ एंड भागलपुर डिस्ट्रिक्ट में हुआ, याद रखना है. ओके, नाउ लेट्स टॉक अबाउट critically endangered birds which are there in India. The first bird that we want to cover is Jedon's courser. This is one of the most threatened, one of the most rare birds in the world. In fact, till 1986, it was considered extinct. But in 1986, it was discovered again in a place which was later declared Sri Lanka Malleshwar Wildlife Sanctuary. So it was discovered in Kadapa district of Andhra Pradesh. And after this discovery, to ensure proper protection of habitat where this bird is found, it was declared a wildlife sanctuary. So Sri Lanka Malleshwar Wildlife Sanctuary is the only place in Andhra Pradesh where it is found. Now, what is the habitat requirement? Look at the image. It will roughly show you that grasslands, scrub grasslands are the places where it is found. And that is something that we have destroyed over the years. Grasslands को हमने agricultural land बना दिया है, और wastelands which had scrubs, those have also been converted into something else. So that is the major reason because of which it is threatened. So clearing of scrub jungles, creation of new pastures, illegal trapping of birds, etc. are some of the reasons because of which the numbers are down. The first critically endangered bird that we are studying is Jadon's courser, which is only found in Andhra Pradesh, Sri Lanka Malleshwar Wildlife Sanctuary in Andhra Pradesh. Second is Bugun Leo Chichla. Bugun Leo Chichla. This bird was spotted for the first time in 1995, and finally in 2006, it was described in detail. It was discovered in a place in Arunachal Pradesh called Eagle Nest Wildlife Sanctuary. And it's only available here in Eagle Nest Wildlife Sanctuary at Arunachal Pradesh. Jadon's courser is Sri Lanka Malleshwar Wildlife Sanctuary, Andhra Pradesh. This Eagle Nest Wildlife Sanctuary, Bugun Leo Chichla Eagle Nest Wildlife Sanctuary in Arunachal Pradesh. You can understand why these are critically endangered. Very less population and found in only 1 or 2 places. It would make them critically endangered. Then we have white-bellied heron. If you look at the image of the bird, you will understand why it's being called white-bellied. Now, where are they found? They are found in northeastern India and its neighboring countries. So, northeastern Bangladesh, Burma, Bhutan. Burma is basically Myanmar. Myanmar, Bhutan. These are some places where they are found. In India, they're mostly confined to Assam and Arunachal Pradesh. Now, they're inherently rare. It's not like earlier they had a lot of population. Even earlier, their population was less in number. But now they're more threatened because of the degradation of the places where they're found. So where are they found? Undisturbed riverside, wetland habitats. Now, how much of the river sides have we left undisturbed? Wetland habitats also we are destroying. Because of this, this white-bellied heron is facing problem. So roughly, when you hear the term white-bellied heron, imagine Assam, Arunachal Pradesh, wetlands, undisturbed riverbeds. These are certain things that should come to your head the moment you think about it. Are they found in other countries? Yes. Assam, Arunachal Pradesh के पास जो countries होंगे, तो northeastern Bangladesh, not the whole of Bangladesh, northeastern Bangladesh, which would be closer to Assam, right? Arunachal Pradesh. Arunachal Pradesh touches Myanmar on the other side, Bhutan on this side. These are some places where they are found. So far, we have looked at 3 critically endangered birds. First, Jadon courser, Sri Lanka Malleshwar Wildlife Sanctuary. It lived on scrublands or grassland in Andhra Pradesh. Second, the bird that we have seen is Bugun Leo Chichla. It's only found in Arunachal Pradesh, Eagle Nest Wildlife Sanctuary in Arunachal Pradesh. Third, we are looking at is white-bellied heron, where Assam and Arunachal Pradesh. It's found on wetlands, on the banks of undisturbed rivers, and that is getting lost, because of which it's becoming critically endangered. So for now, I hope you remember these 3 birds. If someone asks you, list me 15 critically endangered birds of India, I want that after we cover this session, you should be able to list that. For now, you remember 3 of them. Let's go to Bengal florican. Now, Bengal florican is a bird which is very famous for its mating dance. Basically, during mating season, it will make noise and will jump high in the air, and make noise to attract the female. This mating dance is very famous. Bengal florican. It's also called Bengal bustard. India has 3 bustard species. One of it is this Bengal florican. We'll look at all 3 bustard species. Great Indian bustard and lesser bustard. We'll look at all 3 of them. So one is this Bengal bustard. And now the Bengal bustard, the 4th species that we are covering, where is it found? So it is native to 3 countries: India, Nepal, and Cambodia. In India, it's found in Uttar Pradesh, Assam, and Arunachal Pradesh. You do not have to remember this. Roughly know Northeast India and nearby places are where it is found. Okay, so this is the 4th bird, Bengal florican. is the fourth bird. What are the key things about Bengal florican? Known for its mating dance, one of the 3 busted species in India. And then where is it found? Assam, Arunachal Pradesh is something that we should know, and Uttar Pradesh mein bhi milta hai. Overall in the world, India, Nepal, and Cambodia. The 4 birds are clear. Jedon's courser, Andhra Pradesh, Sri Lanka Malleshwar Wildlife Sanctuary. Bogun Chichla, Arunachal Pradesh, Eagle Nest Wildlife Sanctuary. Then white-bellied heron, Arunachal Pradesh and Assam. Right? They are like inherently rare only. And fourth, Bengal florican or Bengal bustard, which is found in Uttar Pradesh, Assam, Arunachal Pradesh, known for its mating dance, one of the 3 bustard species. Then comes Himalayan quail. Himalayan quail may actually be extinct because it hasn't been reported with proof since 1876. Like 1876. Congress was formed in 1885. That time, since then it has not been reported. But there are possible sightings, like people say, I saw that bird in Nainital in 2003. So it is said that perhaps this bird is not extinct, it is still critically endangered. Himalayan quail hai. So where would it be found? Himalayan region, Nainital or Uttarakhand are the places where it would be found. But again, right now, we do not know. We do not have proof whether it's not extinct or not. This was the 5th bird. Jedon's courser, Bugun leochisla, white-bellied heron, Bengal florican, and the Himalayan quail. Now, let's go to pink-headed duck. NCERT mentions that pink-headed duck is extinct, but IUCN's website still has it in critically endangered. Why NCERT says that it's extinct? It's extinct because it hasn't been seen conclusively since 1949. Earlier, it was found in the entire Gangetic Plain. But not only in India, but also in Bangladesh. It was also found in Myanmar. But now, since last 70 years or so, we haven't seen it. Okay, then we have sociable lapwing. It is a winter migrant to India. We'll cover migrant species separately also, but it's critically endangered, so we are covering it here. It's a winter migrant. Where is it distributed? Central Asia, Asia Minor, Russia, Egypt, India, and Pakistan. Egypt, India, and Pakistan it would come when? It would come during winters. So in India, North and Northwest India, mostly it would come during winters. Sociable lapwing. It is put in critically endangered list because sudden decline in its population has been seen over the last few years. Okay, so here also remember one more thing. Its scientific name is Vanellus gregarius. Now, gregarious is a English word which refers to someone who's very happy or who's very sociable. So, usse sociable lapwing, you can roughly remember. If they ask you Vanellus gregarius ke baare mein, understand that they're talking about the critically endangered sociable lapwing. Then we have spoon-billed sandpiper. Spoon-billed sandpiper, actually I've used the wrong image this time. This is the image of the bird, but if I had used a front image, you would have seen that it has a beak which is shaped like a spoon, and therefore it is called spoon-billed sandpiper. Now this spoon-billed sandpiper has a very specialized habitat. It uses only lagoon spits. What are lagoon spits? So you know what lagoons are, right? Ocean water getting, this would be here we have ocean, and here a lagoon would maybe formed. Lagoon spit would basically be its corner here like this. This would be lagoon spit. So they have very specialized breeding habitat where they use lagoon spit with crowberry lichen vegetation, or they use birch and willow sledges, which are dwarf. A particular type of sedges, willows or birch. But all these things becomes a constraint, and therefore its population is very less. Where are they found? Southeast Asia, Russia, India, Sri Lanka. India mein West Bengal, Odisha, Kerala, Tamil Nadu are some places where they are found. Now, if you'll carefully note, West Bengal, Odisha, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, these are all the places where you can understand that a lagoon would be available, only then lagoon spit could be there. So coastal places mein hi mil raha hai. It's not found in Bihar. So if you'll know that spoon-billed sandpiper, if you have an image that spoon-billed sandpiper would breed lagoon pits ke paas, it would ensure that you are at least able to eliminate the inland states if it gets asked in the examination ki ye kahan milta hai. Okay, then let's talk about Siberian crane, another migratory bird to India. What is Siberian crane? This bird. This is Siberian crane. There are only two breeding population of Siberian crane presently, both in Russia. Let's say I'm drawing Russia like this. So one is the Eastern Russia mein population hai, and one in the Western Russia. There are only two breeding population of Siberian crane. So during winters, ab thand mein they'll not stay there. During winters, the Eastern population migrates to China, and the Western population, it used to migrate to Iran, India, Nepal. But now, since 2002, it hasn't come to India. It used to come to the Bharatpur, to Keolade National Park. But since 2002, it hasn't come to India, mostly because of degradation in the national park there, degradation in the lake there. It's also a critically endangered bird. A migrant bird, a critically endangered bird, Siberian crane. Then we have the great Indian bustard. We said we'll look at three bustard species. One was Bengal florican, the Bengal bustard. Second is the great Indian bustard. Two of the bustards are critically endangered. Which one? The Bengal bustard and the great Indian bustard, or the Bengal florican and the Goda one, or the great Indian bustard. So first, let's look at the physical features of this bird. This bird, you will see, is a very large bird. In fact, it is the heaviest flying bird. Among the birds which can fly, it is the heaviest one. Now, this image would give you a rough idea. It has a horizontal body. On its top, it has a black cap. Black colored cap, can you see there? And you can easily identify it because of the contrast. On this part, it will be orange colored, and on the top, black color. तो देखो, मैं अगर orange color का होता, ऊपर से black होता, तो it would have been like you would have identified me anywhere कि हाँ, there goes that animal. So this bird is also easily identifiable. It's very heavy, and it has these features. It's very large, heavy, and it has these physical features also. Now, it's found in India, but roughly 150 of them are there available. Their population is decreasing. Overall, in India, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, Maharashtra, Andhra, Karnataka could be their habitation. It's also found in Pakistan, but 95% of the world's population of bustard is found in Rajasthan only. So mostly, ऐसे समझो कि most of it are found in Rajasthan only. So if the world population is, let's say, 150, 95% of it, almost 140 of them, are found in Rajasthan only. Now, it is critically endangered in Wildlife Protection Act, highest protection sites, highest protection. What are the key threats? Why their numbers are so down? Earlier, a major threat was hunting. People used to hunt it, consume its meat. Then kings and those royals used to enjoy its hunting and claim कि हमने इतना बड़ा bird hunt किया. Second was loss of habitat. a lot of grasslands of this region was converted into agri-lands. They're also being used for renewable energy power projects. All these things are reducing the places where they can survive. Then, because these are flying birds, they accidentally end up hitting high tension electric cables. Now, you may be wondering, sir, we see on high tension electric cables, we see birds sitting. See, a small bird can sit there, no issue. But a large bird, no, it will end up touching two wires. If you touch only one wire of the cable, nothing would happen to you. See, if in that high tension cable, if you go and hang yourself like this, no electric current would pass through you. But if you touch ground, so there would be a voltage difference between that wire and ground, current would pass through you. Or if you touch the other wire, then through you current would pass, and you would in case of high voltage, it would be so much that you'll be killed instantly. So these large birds, the small birds, even if they collide with the high tension cables, itna zyada impact nahi hota. But the large birds, when they end up colliding and they end up touching two wires together, they die. In recent times, this is one of the major reasons for death of great Indian bustards. And therefore, Abhi, it was in news in March 2020 and December 2020. In both cases, efforts were focused on how this high voltage, high tension wires could be like, or how the bustards could be protected against these high voltage, high tension wires. The reason for which it was in news. We'll talk about that too. But what are the conservation efforts that have been made for the bustard species? It is one of the species under the IDWH, Integrated Development of Wildlife Habitat, is one of the initiatives by Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. We'll talk about this initiative in greater details when we'll talk about national efforts. Then state of Rajasthan, please note it carefully. State of Rajasthan had started the project Great Indian Bustard in 2013. Here, under this project, they were identifying the areas where they are found, their breeding grounds, and fencing off the breeding grounds so that those breeding grounds are not hampered in any way. Then in 2017, the government of Rajasthan also started Great Bustard Breeding Center in Kota district, at Sorsa in Kota district. Recently in December 2020, firefly diverters were put on the high tension cables. So let's say these are the electricity cables. These are the high tension electricity cables. On it, they had put some flaps. These flaps shine when there is sunlight, and when you'll move towards them, you'll see that these flaps shine. Because of this shining flap, when the bustard is around 50 meters away, it would be able to see there's a barrier in front. And thus, it would be able to divert itself, either go above or go below it. So on high tension wires, these firefly diverters are being put. Now, why are they being called firefly diverters? Because they look like firefly when seen from far. You know about firefly? They shine at nights, right? So when you see this from far, it would appear like firefly. That's why these diverters are called firefly. These are being put on the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change is working towards putting this on the high tension cables. Okay, so firefly diverters. In news recently, they are associated with the protection of Great Indian Bustard. Then there was in March other thing. So like in Supreme Court, there are cases going on, PILs going on regarding protection of Great Indian Bustard. And one major concern of Great Indian Bustard is the overhead cables. Now there are issues like conservationists are suggesting these overhead cables not go underground, which will ensure that in their habitation area, they would be protected. But very high voltage cables cannot be made to go underground. Low voltage cables, yes, like the cables which connect our houses, they can go underground. But those high voltage cables, which sometimes while traveling, you may have seen, they cannot go underground. So those concerns are there. The Supreme Court may the case is going on. When it comes to a final conclusion, we'll talk about it in more detail. But for, for these reasons, the Great Indian Bustard remains in news, and that is important for us. For these reasons, we should be preparing for this. Okay, now Bayer's Pockad or Aithya bear or Aithya berry. This is another bird. This is a diving duck, which is found in Eastern Asia. Where does it breed? It breed in Southeast Russia. तो रशिया का साउथ ईस्ट यहाँ पे होगा, एंड चाइना यहाँ मिलता है, तो चाइना का नॉर्थ ईस्ट भी यहाँ पे होगा. तो it breeds in Southeast Russia and Northeast China. But in winters, it would migrate to either southern China, Vietnam, Japan, India. So even Aithya berry is a migratory bird. Okay, so now where would it come? When it migrates, where would it come? It would come to places which have rich aquatic vegetation. It's a duck. Duck would live in an aquatic ecosystem, but it would come at places which have rich aquatic vegetation. It could be freshwater bodies, it could be freshwater river, it could be lakes, it could be reservoirs, it could be coastal habitat. In India, the peak population is found in Assam's Tinsukia district. Otherwise, it's found throughout the country. Ab Gujarat se shuru honge, Himachal to West Bengal, wherever you can have wetlands and all, it's found. But thoda winter type ka climate hona chahiye. In winters, when it comes to India, the climate should be cold. So it would not go to extreme south and all. It would remain here. But vegetation should be good. And highest number in Tinsukia district of Assam. It's critically endangered because in recent years, extremely rapid population decline has been seen in case of this bird. Okay, now let's go to vultures. Vultures may, though we'll focus on critically endangered ones, but here only we'll discuss all the 9 vulture species which are found in India. There are total 9 vulture species which are found in India. We'll talk about all of them. Because recently, Vulture Action Plan, which was started way back, it has been extended for 5 years. So we will see under Vulture Action Plan, what has been done so far till 2020 and what is planned in the next 5 years till 2025, the period to which this Vulture Action Plan has been extended. Okay, so first let us understand which are the critically endangered vultures we have in India. 4 vulture species: white-backed vulture, slender-billed vulture, long-billed vulture, and red-headed vulture. These are the only 4 species of vultures in India which are critically endangered. This white-backed vulture is sometimes also written as white-rumped vulture. This slender-billed vulture, this long-billed vulture is also known as Indian vulture. This is the Indian vulture. This is also the vulture which is endemic to India. So white-billed, white-backed, you can understand why it's being called white-backed. This white at the back. Slender-billed, long-billed, and red-headed vulture. Of these 3, around 99% population decline had taken place. Out of 199 had died. This also had seen very rapid population decline. So for these reasons, these vultures have been declared critically endangered. But there are other vulture species also in India which are not critically endangered. For example, Egyptian vulture. Egyptian vulture can be seen in Delhi also. It's endangered. There is cinereous vulture, Himalayan vulture, and bearded vulture, which are near threatened. And then there is Eurasian griffon, which is least concerned. These are the 9 vulture species in India: 4 critically endangered, 1 endangered, 3 near threatened, and 1 least concerned. Now, where are vultures found? Vultures are found everywhere. Wherever you can give them an option of dead body, vultures would be found. So even in villages, you'll find vultures, because in villages, when some animal dies, people throw them, so they consume, they eat those animals, they scavenge on those animals. So vultures would be found there. Even in forest, there would be dead bodies after hunting and all. When carnivorous animal leaves something, they would go and eat it. So it's found throughout the country, across India. There's no place where vulture would not be found. But why has so much of population decline taken place? Like some vulture species, in case of long-billed vulture or slender-billed vulture or white-backed or white-rumped vulture, 99% decline had taken place. So for the first time, the decline was noticed in 1990s, and the reason was exactly identified in 2004. What was the reason? The reason was diclofenac. What is diclofenac? It's a medicine which is given to animals. It's a veterinary non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug. It's an anti-inflammatory medicine which is given to animals. It is used to treat pain and inflammatory diseases among animals. But when these vultures eat these animals which have diclofenac, they suffer from neck drooping and ultimately death. So if there's a ill animal, sick animal, if you give diclofenac to it, and because the animal was sick, there are chances that it may actually die. You throw those animals, and when you throw those animals, vulture will consume it. At that time, in the body of that animal, diclofenac would be there. These vultures will consume that diclofenac, will consume that animal. In the process, will also get diclofenac, and this diclofenac has a lot of negative impact for vulture. Even if you use these diclofenac on very few animals, even if 0.4 to 0.7% of animal dead bodies are contaminated with the diclofenac, scientists say that 99% of vulture population will die. Even if less than 1 dead body of cattle have diclofenac, less than 1% dead bodies, 0.4 to 0.7% is less than 1%. Even if very few of the cattle are consuming this diclofenac, a large vulture population will die. Well, to understand this, understand the reason, think it like this, that when in an area, one animal dies which had diclofenac, you throw it, you'll see of the nearby place, all the vultures would come and eat it. Right? It doesn't happen that 100 animals have died together. So some vulture would eat this animal, some vulture would eat that animal. In villages, if you go, there would be one animal which will be dying, and then all the vultures would be eating it. So even if very small percentage of animals are given diclofenac, cattle are given diclofenac, a large percentage of vultures may actually be killed. So it was identified, the reason was identified in 2004, and the action plan for vulture conservation was started in 2006. By this time, 99% of the vulture population in some cases had decreased. It was this program which recently was extended till 2025. In 2020, this program has been extended till 2025. So what are the steps that have been taken under this program so far? First was ban on the veterinary use of diclofenac. Use of diclofenac is not allowed. Then Central Zoo Authority along with Bombay Natural History Society, they started vulture conservation breeding program. So far, the 3 critically endangered vultures, जिनका population 99% से decrease हुआ है, red-headed नहीं, white-backed vulture, slender-billed, long-billed, white-backed vulture, slender-billed vulture, and long-billed vulture. They have been bred in captivity by these under this initiative. under the vulture conservation and breeding programs. 8 vulture conservation and breeding centers have been set up so far, and 396 vultures of these 3 species have been successfully fledged. What is meant by fledged? Fledged means birds which now, young birds which now have wings. So 396 such who can basically fly. 396 such vultures have been released. Then vulture safe zones were also declared in 8 different places in the country, including 2 places in Uttar Pradesh. Now, how can a place be declared vulture safe zone? If there is no toxic drug which is found in that region, either in undercover pharmacy or in the cattle dead body for 2 consecutive years, then that place can be declared vulture safe zone. Now, conservation program for red-headed and Egyptian vultures would also be launched with breeding programs for both. So far, those programs were focused on the 3 critically endangered vultures, white back, slender billed, long billed. Now the plan is that a red-headed vulture, which is critically endangered, and Egyptian vulture, which is endangered. For these 2, also conservation program would be launched. Now this program has been extended in October 2020. It was approved by National Board of Wildlife that this program will be extended till 2025. So what would happen now? So one is this conservation program for red-headed and Egyptian vultures would be done. Other than this, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change is planning to carry out a safety testing of available NSAIDs. What are NSAIDs? See, diclofenac was one of the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug, NSAID. So, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change wants to carry out safety testing on other available NSAIDs on vulture, so that diclofenac jaisi situation now. Or if there is no safe NSAID available, then develop new one. So their Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change will promote research and development in developing new diclofenac substitute. Then more conservation and breeding centers would be set up. The plans are to set up them in UP, Tripura, Maharashtra, Karnataka, and Tamil Nadu. 4 rescue centers have also been proposed under the newer framework in 4 different parts of the country. For example, in North India, in Pinjore. Pinjore is located in Haryana. In Central India, in Bhopal. In Northeast India, in Guwahati. In South India, in Hyderabad in Telangana. These are the places where these rescue centers have been planned. Then, under this extension, the program has been extended till 2025. One more thing that has been announced, a survey for estimating the vulture numbers would be done, which will be coordinated in nature. Coordinated means it will be including forest departments, it will be including NGOs, it will be including Bombay Natural History Society, and so on. And finally, a database for emerging threats of vulture conservations, including collision, electrocution, and all those things would also be considered under the extension program. So various things which would be done and various things which have been done so far for vulture population. So all the vultures we have discussed together, all 9 vultures we have discussed together. 4 are critically endangered, 1 is endangered, 3 is near threatened, and 1 is least concerned. Okay, so with this, we are done with critically endangered birds. So let me see the doubts that you people have before I jump on to the next topics. First, there are some chats. Upamanyu sending me spoon-billed sandpiper ka frontal image. Okay, I don't need it. Dimpy saying earthing ho jati hai. Earthing kahan, like if you'll touch a wire and you'll touch the ground, so yes, the voltage gap will lead to transmission of electricity. And that is the purpose of earthing that we do, that earlier we used to do in our homes. When there's a huge supply of electricity, it should go to the ground through that earthing wire. Right? Okay. There are no doubts. They are just explaining me things further. Let me see if there are any raised hands. कोई doubts हैं before I jump onto the endangered birds? No, nothing. Let's talk about endangered birds. So in endangered birds, the first endangered bird that we want to discuss is winged wood duck. It's also called Dev Hans in Assam. Dev, God. So Dev ka Hans, God's Hans. Winged wood duck. Now, it's a bird which can be heard but is rarely seen. This is an important characteristic. It generally avoids humans or any other kind of predator. The moment it would hear some noise or it would run away, you'll not be able to see it. But it makes special kind of noises, which while passing through jungles, you would be able to hear. And that's why we are saying that it can be heard but rarely seen. The features, physical features, you can look at the figure and understand it has a dark body, but contrasting whitish head and neck. It's a crepuscular bird. What is crepuscular? It would be active during dusk and dawn. And it's largely omnivorous. Where is it found? In India, it's found in Assam and Arunachal Pradesh mostly. There are some small population found in Meghalaya, Manipur, and Nagaland also, but mostly Assam and Arunachal Pradesh. Okay, so earlier, now it's confined, like earlier it was found in all these places, now it's confined to Assam and Arunachal Pradesh mostly. Okay, IUCN में endangered है, problem habitat loss is the major problem. Now Project Dev Hans. So this is something that is important for us. Project Dev Hans is for winged wood duck. That is something that you should know. So it was launched in 2018 with the purpose of ensuring long-term conservation of this bird. This was implemented by Assam Forest Development, Wildlife Trust of India, and Oil and Natural Gas Limited, the company ONGC. ONGC, why? Because the place where it is found, ONGC के बहुत सारे centers वहां पे हैं, so it also contributes there. Then another endangered bird that we have is lesser florican, the third bustard. We have seen two bustards so far, Bengal bustard and the Great Indian bustard, GIB. Both were critically endangered. This is the third bustard species and of India and the smallest bustard species in the world. It is endangered. Earlier, it was found throughout the country, from Gujarat to Bengal, from Rajasthan to Kerala. It was found throughout the country, but with habitation loss, with hunting and all those things, it's now only confined to Gujarat and Rajasthan. Velwadar in Gujarat and Shokalia Bihani village of Rajasthan. It's not found anywhere else. Now, forest owlet. Forest owlet till 2019 was critically endangered, but now it's endangered. In fact, in 1997, when it was discovered, it was rediscovered after 113 years. Before this, it was seen in 1884. Where was it discovered? If this is Madhya Pradesh, this is roughly Maharashtra. नीचे जाओगे तो this is Maharashtra. Here you'll find it here. So where is it found? Southern MP, northwest and north central Maharashtra. In recent years, its reach has increased, its area of occupancy has increased. Therefore, it was moved from critically endangered to endangered. Forest owlet. Then we have steppe eagle. It's basically a migratory species. It's also endangered. Itna yaad rakh lo. Steppe eagle is one of the endangered birds that we have. So we are not going through all the 20 endangered birds. Some of them which were in news and all, we are covering that. Okay, someone has raised hand. Let me take that doubt before I jump on to other birds which are in news. Maninder Singh ji.
Hello, sir. Good evening.
Good evening, Maninder.
Sir, why do we call some birds bustard, like Great Indian Bustard?
Yeah,
What is the criteria?
bustard. See, now why do we call them bustard? Why are we not calling them? Acha, you are asking ki what are the features which are required for a
Hey,
bird to be called bustard? Google कर लो.
yes.
मतलब इतना सब मुझे नहीं आता है. I only know things which may be relevant for your
सर
exam.
वन मोर थिंग, सर आपके जितने फाइल में चीजें बोल्ड की हुई हैं नोट्स में उतनी नहीं है
हाँ तो
मेन।
while revising it, I study it again between 5 p.m. and 8 p.m. At that time, I underline bold some more things. When I'll read it again, I may remove some underlines and I may add some more underlines.
ओके
Okay. तो ये तो आप खुद से करिए ना, खुद से कुछ तो करिए, मतलब बोल्ड, अंडरलाइन, हाईलाइट वो सब भी मैं ही करके दे दूं. चलिए, there is some chat also. Let me see. Please discuss vulture restaurant concept also. It was in news. See, vulture restaurant क्या होता है? There are two kind of things. One, vulture restaurant is there are two things. One, in vulture restaurant, what they do is they get the dead body or old animals and they keep them with themselves for 15-20 days. In 15-20 days, that animal, even if it would have consumed diclofenac, it will excrete all of it. And then that food is made available. Then, तो एक वो वाला concept है. एक दूसरा, so this is something that's happening in Himachal Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh also. तो last year मैंने एक concept पढ़ाया था उत्तर प्रदेश में. What was the name of the bird which had helped, which had informed Ram about the गरुड़. हाँ, तो ऐसे प्रोजेक्ट गरुड़ टाइप करके कुछ एक इनिशिएटिव शुरू किया था इन्होंने, उत्तर प्रदेश गवर्नमेंट ने, एंड देयर आल्सो दे वर डूइंग समथिंग सिमिलर. ओके, नाउ लेट्स गो टू अदर बर्ड स्पीसीज व्हिच वर इन न्यूज़. मैंडरिन डक is something that we want to start with. हाँ, जटायु, गरुड़ नहीं, जटायु, जटायु. Mandarin duck. Now look at this duck. It appears as if the nature was given a brush and all the colors it had just painted it. This is the most beautiful duck in the world, the most attractive one. It's Mandarin duck. Now, it's a perching duck which is found in East Asia, including Russia, China, and Japan. These are the places where it's found. But over the years, it has established its population in Europe and USA. How? Because of their beauty and all, they were captured and taken there in cage as pets and all, but they got free, and thus वहां पे भी इनका population spread हुआ. In 2018, it was seen in a lake in New York and became a very big attraction. It was in news recently because in Assam's Tinsukia district, I'm not saying Assam, in Assam's Tinsukia district, it was seen after 1902 for the first time in February 2021. It was seen at Maguri Matopung Beel or wetland in Assam's Tinsukia district after more than 118 years. But recently, it has been seen in Manipur's Loktak Lake in 2013, in Manas National Park and Tiger Reserve in Assam in 2014. So it has been seen, but it rarely visits India. It generally is found in Russia, Korea, Japan, northeastern parts of China, and India doesn't fall in its migratory route, but still it was seen. So because it was found in Maguri Motapang Beel, you should also know about it. It is located in Tinsukia district. It is located in the Dibru Saikhowa National Park in Assam. ये कुछ basic चीजें हैं that you should know. It specifically was also in news in May 2020 because the Blowout and Fire at Oil and Natural Gas Limited, ONGC, had also damaged, killed several fish, snakes, endangered Gangetic dolphin, etc. in this particular wetland. And for this reason, for this factor, this was in news. Okay, so Mandarin duck. Its population wise, it's least concerned. It's found now, it is spread throughout the world and so on. But India may, Assam may, after 117, 18 years, in Tinsukia district, it was found after 117, 18 years, in Maguri, Motapung Beel, so it's important. Okay, then various hornbill species of Northeast India. In Northeast India, there are 5 hornbill species which are known. So what are hornbills? These birds are hornbills. Great Indian hornbill, Red-headed hornbill, Oriented pied hornbill, Rufous naked hornbill. Now, if someone would, if you would ask me, sir, why are these birds called hornbills? I'll not know the exact reason. I would say perhaps something associated with their bills. Right? So these are 4 hornbill species which are found in Northeast India and are also vulnerable. There's one more hornbill species which is found in Northeast India, white-throated hornbill, but it is near threatened. It's not vulnerable. Baki, these 4 hornbill species, Great Indian hornbill, Red-headed hornbill, Oriented pied hornbill, and Rufous naked hornbill, these are vulnerable. Now, it was in news because a study had shown that forest cover loss is threatening the hornbill population in northeastern India, especially in Arunachal Pradesh. Hornbills are very important for the ecosystem of Northeast India because they are considered the engineers of forest or forest engineers, because they play a crucial role in dispersal of seeds of tropical trees and thus help in the growth of tropical forests. Now, forest cover loss was something that was in news. So satellite imagery has shown that in reserve forest, Pepam Reserve Forest, which is adjoining the Pakke Tiger Reserve or Pakui Tiger Reserve, it's also called Pakui. It was asked in prelims 2018, Pakke Tiger Reserve, Pakui Tiger Reserve karke, Pakui Wildlife Sanctuary karke, a question was asked. So there, deforestation, high rate of deforestation is happening. Illegal felling of trees is happening. In Assam also, because of Northeast insurgency, problems are occurring. All these things are leading to damages, harm to this particular species. In past, there were these particular species. Now, in past, there were some other threats. Earlier, they were hunted for the casks. But since last 20 years, there's a conservation program going on, and the tribal population which hunted it for its cask, they are being provided fiberglass beaks for their cultural activities. So now their hunting in that form is reduced, but their habitat loss is still happening. Okay, so various hornbill species of Northeast India. Of this, a question in 2017 on the Great Indian Hornbill was asked. See, in 2018, on Pakui Reserve, Wildlife Sanctuary question was asked. In 2017, question on Great Indian Hornbill was asked. Great Indian Hornbill, actually, we cover in greater details. It is actually, every year I used to cover Great Indian Hornbill only. I did not cover all the hornbill species of Northeast India, but because this year it was in news, so I've also covered all the hornbill species of Northeast India. So what is Great Indian Hornbill? One of the hornbill species which is found not only in Northeast India, but Nepal, Bhutan, Myanmar, Southeast Asia as well. Plus, you would see that these are also found in Western Ghats. That's important. This Great Indian Hornbill is very long-lived. It can have a life of 50 years. So if you really want a permanent companion, and if you want to break the law and want to go to jail, then you can keep hornbill as a pet. 50 साल तक जिएगा. Now, it is predominantly fruit eater, frugivorous. That's why we say that it is engineer of the forest, forest engineer. But Great Indian Hornbill is highly opportunist. जब इसे छोटे mammals, reptiles, birds मिलते हैं, it eats them also. primarily frugivorous. Now, the most prominent feature is its beak and black casque. It is something that doesn't serve any purpose, and because of it, it was being hunted a lot. कहाँ मिल रहा है ये तो समझ में आ गया, Western Ghats and Northeastern India and Southeast Asia, Nepal, and so on. Now, there's one more interesting thing, that both Kerala and Arunachal Pradesh have this as their state bird. Western Ghats में भी मिल रहा है, Northeast India में भी मिल रहा है. So both these states, Kerala and Arunachal Pradesh, have this as their state bird. Major threat, earlier tribal people used to hunt it for their beak and head. But now we have seen that glass fiber beaks and all those things are being provided. So now the major threat in India is the habitat loss that we have seen in the previous section. Now let's come to the next bird, red Avdavat or red munia. Look at it, how beautiful it is. On the left, we have male. Males are always more colorful. As I was telling you yesterday, it's only in human beings we are boring. We have to wear plain shirts, white shirt, or not very bright colors. आप बहुत सारा bright color पहन के बाहर निकलोगे, सब आपका मजाक उड़ाने लगेंगे. But in nature, the males are the brighter ones. Now, these birds were very famous as pets in medieval India and so on. And therefore, they were exported a lot from the city of Ahmedabad. And from there, the name of the bird has come, red Avdavat. Ahmedabad se word आ रहा है, red Avdavat. So it's a sparrow-sized bird. It was very popular as cage bird due to its colorful plumage. Indian subcontinent से ये export होता था. Ahmedabad or Amandav, the common name of Avdavat, is derived from the city of Ahmedabad. So recently this bird, red munia or red Avdavat, was in news because in Akkulam Lake of Kerala, around 30 birds were found together. So its population is being expanded to newer regions, or the Akkulam Lake region may be providing a permanent habitat for them. Is वजह से it was a positive news. Then there is another bird that was in news, barn owl. The owl that you must have seen around you, most probably it is the barn owl. Barn owl is also known as common barn owl. It is the most widely distributed species of owls in the world. Not only in India, in the world. In fact, forget owl species. If you look at the most widely distributed birds, it is one of the most widely distributed birds. इससे ज़्यादा widely distributed, the birds which are more widely distributed than these are generally the birds which are found in oceans and all. Otherwise, this is the most widely distributed owl and one of the most widely distributed bird in the world. Where is it found? It's found almost everywhere in the world except in polar regions, in deserts, in Asia north of Himalayas. तो चाइना वगैरह में चले जाओगे, and in most of Indonesia and some Pacific islands. Other than these, they're found everywhere. They're mostly nocturnal, but in some countries like United Kingdom, they also hunt in daytime. Population इतना widely distributed है. Least concern, not a big issue. Why was it in news recently? It was in news in August 2020 when Lakshadweep government talked about biological control of rodents by using barn owls. So in Lakshadweep, some studies in 2019 showed that 40% of coconut plantation was destroyed because of rats. Choohe. Almost, and this was leading to loss of crores of rupees for Lakshadweep. So on a trial basis, in 2019, they introduced 3 pairs of barn owls on the Kavaratti island. And this gave very good results. as these owls hunted these rats and controlled the population of rats. So now they are planning to expand it. Now, have rats become a major concern in Lakshadweep? Because in Lakshadweep, there is no natural predator for rats. Natural predators for rats is missing, and they do not use chemical things to kill rats. जैसे हमारे घर में rat आ जाता है, you use Mortein, rat kill and all those chemical products. No, Lakshadweep is moving more and more towards organic farming, so it does not use those chemicals. Further, in Lakshadweep, the trees, the what do you call it? Coconut trees are planted very close, and thus these rats do not even have to come down. They move from one tree to another. ऊपर ऊपर ही. This becomes another concern, and therefore owl, वो भी ऊपर ऊपर ही, would be able to take care of these rats. The barn owl, least concerned hai, almost found throughout the world, was in news recently, so you should have some idea about this barn owls also. Okay, now let's talk about bird migration. So we celebrate World Migratory Bird Day, WMBD, twice every year. One in May, other in October. Second Saturday of May and October is celebrated as World Migratory Bird Day. Now you would be asking, sir, why two? Because there can be two kinds of migration: summer migration and winter migration. And therefore, these two types of celebrations, two-time celebration. So just remember this: World Migratory Bird Day कब होता है? Second Saturday of May and October is when we celebrate World Migratory Bird Day. Now let's talk about the migratory birds, some important migratory birds of India. So उसमें first is Siberian crane. We have already discussed it. We said that there are two in Russia. There are two populations, breeding population of Siberian crane. This one goes to China. This one used to come to Nepal, or Nepal, India, sorry, not Nepal, Iran, India, and Nepal. But now it has not come to India and Nepal since 2002. It is critically endangered as well. Then we have greater flamingo. You must have seen this in news every year. Mumbai mein, for those of you who are from Mumbai, you must have also visited the mud flats or Thane Creek when their numbers, they come in thousands. If you will search greater flamingo right now, no, you will get pictures from Mumbai where in small area, thousands and thousands of them would come together. So it's also a migratory species which is found in Africa, Southern Europe, Middle East, and Indian subcontinent. It migrates to mudflats and shallow coastal lagoons in India. And India provides the largest breeding ground for the greater flamingo. So in India, it's not only confined to Mumbai or Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Rajasthan, wherever wetlands could be there, it could be found there. If you'll go and search greater flamingo in Mumbai right now, you'll get those pictures, which will give you a clear-cut idea कि flamingo कहाँ मिल रहा है and क्या होते हैं. Then there are lesser flamingo. Lesser flamingo are smallest species of flamingo. Now, this bird doesn't in any way look small, but in flamingo standards, these are the smallest one. They occur in sub-Sahara and northwestern India as well. In India, they're mostly confined to, most of them are confined to Mumbai's mudflats. So other than greater flamingo, the lesser flamingo also come to these mudflats, but greater flamingo would be found throughout the country, whereas this lesser flamingo are mostly confined to Maharashtra or Mumbai. Then another bird is there, Jacobin cuckoo. The birds that we have discussed so far were all winter migrants. Cuckoo is summer migrant. Okay, it was in news recently because Wildlife Institute of India, along with Indian Institute of Remote Sensing, this is a unit of ISRO and Department of Biotechnology. They have started a study in which they will track the path of migration of the cuckoo bird. So cuckoos are found in Africa and in Asia. In Africa and Asia. In India, they are partially migratory. Why are we saying that they're partially migratory? They're partially migratory because the northern population, the population which is found in Himalayan foothills, it is migratory in nature. It is believed that it comes from Africa. Every summer, at the beginning of monsoon, it comes from Africa. Now, please note this carefully. It's a summer migrant. It's also considered harbinger of monsoon in India. People in the Himalayan foothills or wherever this quail comes, as it comes, they understand that monsoon is coming, because scientists also think that it rides on the monsoon wind. It takes help of the monsoon wind to reach India. Therefore, its arrival invariably comes with the arrival of monsoon. So this is the migrant one. But why are we saying it's partially migratory? The Himalayan foothill one is migrant one, but we have a permanent southern India population of cuckoos who are resident, who do not migrate, who live in that area only. So cuckoos in North India, they migrate from other places, but cuckoos in South India, they are permanent residents there. So therefore, we said that it's partially migratory. I hope you're understanding it. Why are cuckoos being considered partially migratory? Why are they called monsoon ka harbinger in North India? Why are they called that? Now, in population wise, threat wise, they are least concerned, not an issue. Recently, what we have done, two of the cuckoo birds, on them, this chip has been put. Wildlife Institute of India, along with Indian Institute of Remote Sensing and Department of Biotechnology, have put this microwave chip on these two birds. Through this chip, they'll be able to track their pathway. With the help of satellite and all, they'll be able to track their pathway. Idea is to trace and observe their migratory routes. See, we say that they come from Africa, but it is not 100% proved yet. We do not exactly know where do they come from, and even if they're coming from Africa, which part of Africa are they coming from? We do not know that. So to study that, this initiative has been launched. Then it would also help us in understanding climatic variations and its impact, like how climate change is impacting the path of travel of these cuckoos and all is also one of the key focus area of this study. For this reason, it was in news. So I thought, because it's a migratory bird, we should know about cuckoos in general, which may help us in our preliminary examination. Now, also note one more thing, that it is high. This bird shows high sight fidelity. What is meant by high sight fidelity? Like this year, if a XYZ bird went to that particular village or that particular region, even next year, this bird will go to that particular village or that particular region. तो अफ्रीका से आएंगे but वहीं जाएंगे. High sight fidelity. They're not infidels. They'll not keep changing their places, locations every year. Now, this project of tracking cuckoos is part of a bigger project, Indian Bioresource Information Network. This is a project of Department of Biotechnology, where we are putting relevant Indian bioresource information online on this Indian Bioresource Information Network, IBIN network. We are putting relevant bioresource information online. This is an initiative of Department of Biotechnology, and therefore now you would understand what is the role of Department of Biotechnology in this program. See, Wildlife Institute of India is playing a role. ISRO's Indian Institute of Remote Sensing is playing a role. What is Department of Biotechnology doing? It was Department of Biotechnology's bigger project, Indian Bioresource Information Network, under which this initiative is being run. Okay, fine. Cuckoo, I hope, is understood. Now, bar-headed geese. This is a goose which on its head has this black bars, and therefore bar-headed goose. It's also a migratory species. It's found in central China and Mongolia. It breeds there, but in winters, it comes to Indian subcontinent. During winter, it migrates to Indian subcontinent. So it's a migratory bird. It's a least concerned bird. Population is also good enough and all. But why is it important? Because during its migration, other birds, they come around Himalayas. They fly over the Himalayas. So it is one of the high altitude flying birds which fly over the Himalayas. And thus, now see, when it's flying over the Himalayas, the oxygen level there must be much very low. Even when humans go there, they carry oxygen mask and everything. The oxygen level over the Himalayas must be very low. Energy available is also very low. Even then, it's able to do that every year. It has become a subject of study among researchers, among scientists, on how is it able to do this. Bar-headed goose. Fine. Bar-headed goose, the significant part, the important part, I hope you're able to understand. There are some other birds, specific black duck or group of warblers, which are also migrants. Yeah, like group of warblers thing, please do it yourself. These are all factual stuff. I have also given a list of birds: common teal, yellow wagtail, white wagtail, northern shoveler, rosy pelican, wood sandpiper, spotted sandpiper, Eurasian pigeon, black-tailed wood. These are all migratory birds. So I've listed them here: Asian quail, black crowned night heron, Eurasian golden oriole, comb duck, blue-cheeked bee-eater, blue-tailed bee-eater, cuckoos. These are the summer migrants. ऊपर वाले were winter migrants. We do not have to get into the details कि कौन सा summer migrant है, कौन सा winter migrants है. Just read these names once. You do not have to cram each and everything. Just remember at least the important ones. If someone asks you कि Siberian crane a migratory bird, and if you make that wrong, then you are committing a sin. UPSC should not select you. If flamingo के पे question आता है, greater flamingo or lesser flamingo, if you do not mark it migratory, then you are making a sin. But इसमें थोड़ी गलती हो जाती है वो सब. Not a lot of people would remember it. If you read these birds once, it would be good. See, India has 1300 plus bird species. We have perhaps done 25, 30, 40 maybe maximum. Like we have looked at 15 of the critically endangered bird, 3-4 endangered birds ones, then 10, 15 other bird species, and then we have listed some of the migratory ones. So we have not done more than 50 species of birds, right? We have done very few of them. We cannot do all 1300 birds here, else we would become a bird expert, not civil services में selection वाले expert. Okay, now let's move on to अच्छा, a bird disease भी है. One of the bird disease, see, bird flus and all we have already covered in science and technology. So will not be talking about bird flu. Here we are talking about avian botulism. Avian botulism was a disease which killed around 20,000 birds in Sambhar Lake of Rajasthan in 2019. So it was in news a lot till in November, December, January, February. उसके बाद COVID-19 news में आ गया, तो this disease was ignored. But what is avian bot? Avian is the term which is used for birds. Botulism. What is botulism? So it is a disease which is caused by bacteria called Clostridium botulinum, and that's why botulism. Now this bacteria produces a toxin. That toxin causes neuromuscular illness in birds. This bacteria, Clostridium botulinum, which is causing this disease, avian botulism. How is this disease caused? This bacteria will produce toxin, and this toxin will cause paralysis in the bird's legs, wings, necks, etc. This paralysis eventually makes them die. So Clostridium botulism produces this toxin, botulinum neurotoxin. These bacteria are commonly found in soil, river, and seawater, but there are 8 types of these bacteria: A, B, C1, C2, D, E, F, and so on. They can be distinguishable on the basis of diagnosis. Can human be affected? Yes, human can be affected, but not by all the botulinum. Like botulinum C can affect birds more, A, B, E can affect humans more. Now, when do they come into play? Like, what happened that this botulism was caused in Sambar Lake now? Generally, this bacteria grows more when there is less oxygen available. So in case of pollution and all, biological oxygen demand increases and the oxygen availability reduces. So in those situations, there are higher chances that this botulism would be caused. Okay, the Clostridium botulinum produces toxin in anoxic or low oxygen condition. This is something that we have to remember. So when pollution would be high, oxygen demand would be high and will take up all the oxygen. Low oxygen condition would be there, which would be causing this disease. Are there other instances of botulism? Yes. You'll see that 7,000 water birds died in Lake Michigan in 2007 and 2008. Then 4,000 in Lake Michigan had died because of this disease only in 2012. In Hawaii, the toxin killed around 182 Laysan ducks in 2008. So examples of this kind of thing there are lots of examples of this botulism killing birds throughout the world. India में भी है. Pollution reduce करना, wastage reduce करना is something that we need to focus upon. Now let's talk about reptiles. In reptiles, we're starting with the critically endangered ones. And the first critically endangered reptile that we want to cover is one of the 3 crocodiles which is found in India. There are 3 types of crocodiles found in India. One is ghadial, which is critically endangered. It's also known as Gavialis gangeticus. It's a freshwater crocodile. Ghadial is a freshwater crocodile which has evolved to catch fish. Look at its mouth here, its snout here. This snout has evolved so that it can easily catch fish. See, if the mouth was big, then the movement of mouth would have been slow in water. But this thin mouth ensures that it moves quickly and catches the fish quickly. In the past, this ghadial was found throughout India. Throughout in the sense like Indus River, Gangetic basins, Irrawaddy River in Myanmar. It was found throughout this place. But presently, its viable population is confined only to National Chambal Sanctuary. Its population is only confined to National Chambal Sanctuary. Viable population where breeding and all those things is happening. The Chambal Sanctuary is located on the UP, Bihar, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh tri-junction, Chambal ke wahan pe. There are some non-breeding population found in Son, Gandak, Hooghly, etc., where we keep introducing them again and again, but they are non-breeding. They're extinct in Pakistan, they're extinct in Myanmar, they're extinct in Bhutan, they're extinct in Bangladesh. Their breeding population is only available in this Chambal. Why have they become extinct? A number of factors, mostly habitat destruction, food availability reduce hona, dams create ho jana, barrages ban jana, all these things have reduced the amount of water, extension of agricultural activities, discharge of a lot of water, pollution, mining, all these factors have eventually led to decline of the ghadials. A major factor would have been like आप 200 साल पहले और अभी का situation देखोगे तो increase in human population. Like we have not left banks undisturbed, and if on banks आज से 100 साल पहले if there were these ghadials, people will kill them because they were dangerous for humans also. So this became a major factor. So ghadial, one of the crocodile species in India, is critically endangered. There are 2 other crocodile species which are found in India. Other one is magar crocodile. The term magarmach in Hindi comes from this. Mugger crocodile or marsh crocodile has broad snout. See, it doesn't have the thin snout of ghadial. It's also found in fresh water like ghadial, but you'll see that it is found in southern Iran, Pakistan, India, Sri Lanka. It's extinct in Bhutan and Myanmar, but in India it's found. Now, in case of this crocodile, in case of mugger crocodile, the temperature during incubation decides the sex of the hatchlings. जो बच्चा पैदा होगा अंडे से, what will be the sex of that bacha? It's decided at the time based on the temperature during incubation. This, see, in India, crocodile is called magarmach because it is the most commonly distributed crocodile in India. From Rajasthan to Odisha, from Punjab to Tamil Nadu, you can find magar. It is vulnerable species. It's a vulnerable species. Fine. Now comes saltwater crocodile. Now comes saltwater crocodile. We have looked at two crocodiles so far. One ghadial, it's critically endangered. Where is it found? Chambal. Second, mugger crocodile. Mugger crocodile is vulnerable. It's found throughout the country. Numbers are less, but Gujarat से उड़ीसा तक, बंगाल तक, राजस्थान से तमिलनाडु तक, you'll find mugger. Mugger is widely distributed in India. Now, saltwater crocodile. See, a question on ghadial has been asked. A question on saltwater crocodile has also been asked. In last 5-6 years only. What is the saltwater crocodile? Name tells you. Its habitation will be saltwater. So it will be found in saltwater habitats or brackish wetlands. Wetlands where oceanic waters are available and thus they are brackish in nature. तो इंडिया के ईस्ट कोस्ट पे मिलेगा. The Chilka Lake is one of the common habitats of this. Southeast Asia and Sundaik region of northern Australia and Micronesia are some places where it is found. It is the largest living reptile. You may be wondering ki anaconda and all those may be the largest ones. It is this saltwater crocodile which is the largest one. Males can be up to 6 meters, around 20 feet, and can weigh up to 1,000 kgs. Females are much smaller and they rarely surpass 3-meter length, but males are pretty large. They are opportunistic hypercarnivore apex predator. Hypercarnivore means around 70% of their food is meat. They are carnivorous. But they can also eat other things, vegetation and also. That's why we are saying hypercarnivore, mostly carnivore. It's opportunistic because ये नहीं तो वो सही, वो नहीं तो ये सही, जो भी मिल जाए. It's also very dangerous to humans. If humans venture into their areas, it would attack humans. And therefore, it was in news because it was said that in Bhitarkanika, a study was there which says that in Bhitarkanika, 6 to 10 people are killed every year by this saltwater crocodile. Fine. This saltwater crocodile, you have seen Southeast Asia se Australia tak ja raha hai. It has good population, so it is least concerned, but it is highly protected. Now, here you would see Wildlife Protection Act it is in Schedule 1, and thus is given highest protection. Its number is also good, and its number is increasing in places like Andaman and Nicobar Islands. And thus, increasing population in Andaman and Nicobar Island is creating problems, is leading to more deaths among humans, and therefore Union Territory of Andaman and Nicobar is saying that remove it from Wildlife Protection Act Schedule 1. Now, even if we put it in Schedule 2, killing this would not be legal. Either we declare it vermin, then its killing can be made legal. So putting it in schedule 2 would not serve any purpose, but this is one of the demand that was happening. Through this, what you should remember is saltwater crocodile is in schedule 1. Through this, you should also understand घड़ियाल किसमें होगा, schedule 1 में होगा. If a least concerned species is in schedule 1, why would we keep घड़ियाल in schedule 2 or anywhere else? घड़ियाल is also in schedule 1, and mugger crocodile was vulnerable. It is also in schedule 1. In India, where is it found? On the east coast, West Bengal, Odisha, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, and in Andaman and Nicobar Islands, this is found. This particular crocodile is found. Okay, so we were discussing reptiles. In reptiles, we discussed the 3 crocodilian species in India. Ghadial, breeding population is only found in Chambal. Then we discussed mugger crocodile. Mugger crocodile widely distributed hai India mein. Then we discussed mugger crocodile is also freshwater crocodile. Then we discussed this. What? Saltwater crocodile, the largest reptile species in the world. It can weigh up to 1000 kg. कहाँ मिलेगा इंडिया में? East coast पे and in Andaman and Nicobar Islands. In Andaman and Nicobar Islands, because it's the top predator, its population is increasing. This increasing population has become a cause of concern, and they are saying that remove it from Wildlife Protection Act Schedule 1. Fine. So these were the 3 crocodilian species. Questions on these are regularly asked. Generally, coaching institutes do not cover it this systematically, but questions have been regularly asked on these species. You should be prepared. I was telling you 2018 में 19 में 18 में क्वेश्चन आया है कि सॉल्ट वाटर क्रोकोडाइल चंबल में मिलता है, इस तरह का क्वेश्चन आया था. तो you should have understood कि salt water, चंबल, fresh water, no. ऐसे in 2015 or 16 or 17 there was a question on कि the ghadial is only found in chambal, something like this. So questions related to this have been regularly asked. They are as important as lion, tiger, and elephants. These ghadials are as important. Then there are some other reptiles. See, turtles, tortoise, these are also reptiles. These are not that important, but still हमें पढ़ना, at least the critically endangered ones should be studied very carefully. One is hawksbill sea turtle. Hawksbill sea turtle is very widely distributed. It's found in almost 70 countries. In India, it's found in Andaman and Nicobar Islands, in the coast of Odisha and Tamil Nadu. It's critically endangered, बस इतना याद रखो, nothing more than that. Like threats, turtle shell trade, egg collection, slaughter for meat, this is common for almost all the turtles. तो इसे याद रखने की जरूरत नहीं है. Hawksbill sea turtle is one of the critically endangered turtle. Then four-toed river terrapin or Batagur baska. This is the common name here. Four-toed river terrapin. River, freshwater. It's a riverine turtle which has omnivorous diets. It's found in freshwater rivers and lakes. Where would it be found? It's extinct in several Southeast Asian countries. In Bangladesh, in India, West Bengal, Odisha mein, here also numbers are very low. And Myanmar, Cambodia. These are some of the few places where they are found. It is world's second most endangered turtle. The most endangered is the Yangtze giant softshell turtle. This is the second most endangered one. So यहाँ पे critically endangered है. Know this. Then we have red-crowned roof turtle. Because of its crown here, it's called this red-crowned roof turtle. There are so many chats. Give me 1 second. Ankit is typing, sir, I have read somewhere that ghadials are not harmful to humans. Yes, they are not harmful to humans. They are evolved to catch fish. But please understand, 100 years back, when a ghadial came out of the river and you were there, what will be your reaction? Arey, tu hame kuch nahi karega. Right? I was explaining that. Today, the situation is different. Sir, what's the difference between alligator and crocodile? इंडिया में एलिगेटर, इसको चलो एक्चुअली मैं बताता हूँ एलिगेटर और क्रोकोडाइल में अंतर क्या होता है। मुझे एग्जैक्टली exactly नहीं पता है एलिगेटर और क्रोकोडाइल में अंतर क्या होता है। जस्ट गिव मी 1 सेकेंड, अभी देखते हैं। एलिगेटर वर्सेस क्रोकोडाइल, आई थिंक दे आर सेम। इंडिया में दे आर सेम। Alligators have wider U-shaped snouts while crocodiles have more pointed V-shaped snouts. हाँ, तो there's no not much difference. It's roughly the same, थोड़ा structure का difference है. Okay, now there are some more doubts. Sir, how many revision iteration we must give before making key point notes? See, for prelims you do not need to make key point notes. Prelims में इससे ही पढ़ो, the notes that I'm providing you, highlight it, mark it and study it from there only. Do not waste time in making notes. In mains, I keep telling you, see, in mains you'll have to write your own 5 points. So those 5 points should be on your tips, should be in the form of keywords made into notes. I'll explain you how to make notes next time when we cover this in mains topic. When we take the mains class on Wednesday or Thursday, there I'll explain you how to make notes for mains section. For prelims, do not waste time in making notes. Just flip through these only. No, see, there's a concept of picture memory. When you keep looking at the same thing again and again, it would be easier to revise. So already things are highlighted, already things are marked. Do not make more notes out of it. You'll waste a lot of time. Try to revise these things only. Okay, now, we were talking about red crowned turtle. It is also critically endangered. Another turtle, Sal forest turtle or elongated tortoise, was in news recently. In May 2020, Wildlife Institute of India had published a study where it says that 90% of the potential distribution of Sal forest tortoise. See, tortoise और turtle में एक primary अंतर होता है. Tortoise mostly lives on land and turtle primarily is evolved for living in water. That difference you should know, and that's why here the name of the tortoise, Sal forest tortoise. It's living in forest. So the study says that 90% of the potential distribution of this tortoise is outside the protected areas. If these tortoises were only in protected areas, they would have been much safer. But the study says that 90% of this tortoise is found outside protected area. For this reason, it was in news. So it's a critically endangered reptile. First thing that you should know. Second, it's called elongated tortoise because its shell, rather than being circular essay, it's more elongated essay. That's why it's called elongated tortoise, Sal forest tortoise. Now, where is it found? It's found in South Asia and in India. In India, northeast mostly, Bihar, Jharkhand, UP, West Bengal, Uttarakhand. These places also you'll find it. So Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Jharkhand, West Bengal, and mostly northeast India. The recent study is saying that 90% of the potential distribution of the species is falling outside the protected areas. Northeast, in Northeast, their representation in protected area is the least. See, UP, Bihar में अगर ये protected area के बाहर है, there are chances that it would be hunted, killed and all, because forest cover is lesser in these areas. But in Northeast, there's a lot of area which is not protected area, but even there it is found. So that's why they are saying that in Northeast, the representation of species in protected area is the least. Then 29% of the distribution also fall in high fire zones, fire hazard zones. According to IUCN, their population may have fallen by 80% in last 3 generations. That is in last 90 years. And that's why they consider it critically endangered. It is a critically endangered species. Now come to black soft shell turtle. This is important. This, like, this is wrong. This should be critically CR. I think I have replaced this image. No. Black soft shell turtle is no more extinct in wild. It is CR. Till 2 years back, it was extinct in wild. So what is meant by extinct in wild? In wild, it's not available. In zoos and zoos or other protected areas, or in botanical gardens, or sorry, in zoo or in other lakes, domestic lakes and all, it may be available, but it is not available in wild. It was truly the case. It was in fact declared extinct in 2002. But there were some temple ponds in Assam. Those temple ponds, for example, Hayagriv Madhab Temple, which is located near Guwahati. There, 16 black soft shell turtle. There, these soft shell turtle were there. There, they were breeded, and then they were released in wild. This temple released 16 of this turtle in the Haduk wetland or Haduk Beel, which is part of Pobitaro Wildlife Sanctuary. This happened 2 years back. So now, does it remain extinct in wild? No. In nature, if it's able to grow, survive by its own, it doesn't remain extinct in wild, but it is critically endangered. So till last year, I taught it as extinct in wild. Now it is critically endangered. Black soft shell turtle is critically endangered. ये जानना ज़्यादा जरूरी है. Mostly it's found in Assam right now. In Assam's temple ponds, it was there. Fine. So this was it. This was it for today. Let me see the doubts and raised hands before I end today's class. Tomorrow, like the next environment biodiversity class would be on Saturday, Sunday. Tomorrow's class would be on ancient India, where we'll be covering later Vedic period. First, we'll finish the remaining literature of ancient India. Then we'll be moving on to the later Vedic period. Okay. Archit has raised hand. Archit ji, bataiye.
Yes, sir. Sir, that Pinjore breeding center you have talked about, sir, that is in Haryana, sir.
हाँ हरियाणा
Pinjore.
बोला भाई.
आपने यूपी बोला था, sir.
नहीं बिंजौर हरियाणा भाई पक्का हरियाणा.
And sir, the first vulture only restaurant was set up by Fansad Wildlife Sanctuary, sir. That is in Maharashtra.
That may be true. हाँ ठीक है वो तो इशू नहीं है. Okay. Anything else, guys? There is some chat also. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, guys. Chaliye, we're done for today.
Thank you.
I'll see you tomorrow with the first the literature portion and then later Vedic period portion. Next environment biodiversity classes would be on Saturday, Sunday. Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, sir.